Welcome, everybody. My name is Anthony Buller with DRP Solutions. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you could hit the next slide, please, Taylor.
Absolutely, sorry.
Before we get started, I'd love to introduce DRP to you. DRP is a managed service provider focusing on a variety of cutting-edge office technology solutions. We serve companies of all sizes and across industries throughout the greater tri-state area with expertise and care. We pride ourselves on providing leading-edge IT and network solutions, cybersecurity and backup protection, advanced project work from software and hardware upgrades to physical security. The great thing about what we do is we get to select our partners and who we want to bring to the table to our clients. And one of our partners that are on with us today is Datto. And we've been a partner with them for about 8 or 9 years now. And if you're serious about disaster recovery, if you're serious about business continuity, if you're serious about protecting your company's information, Datto is the company that you need to be with through DRP. So I turn it over to you now, Taylor.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. I always like to say this is the best part of our job, is working with our partners and just being able to help you guys, because we can't really do this without you. So thanks for having us, and I'm excited. So before I begin, a little bit about myself, just for a little bit of an introduction. My name's Taylor Thorson. I'm a channel development manager here at Datto. I've been with Datto through 3 years, through acquisitions, changes, different things like that. So a little bit of time. I'm based out of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm originally from South Dakota, so I like to say you get a little older, you get a little smarter, and you move south. So that's a little bit about me. A little bit about Datto. We were founded in 2007. We have offices literally all over the world. We were acquired about 8 months ago by a company called Kaseya. So you're going to see everything kind of a Kaseya company. So we're now based out of Miami, Florida, which is not the worst place to be based out of, and we have about 4,000 employees. So we're a pretty big, large IT provider. So that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Datto. But what we're really going to dive in today is those cyber threats disrupting your business operations and how they're affecting you, and how they're affecting your business, right? But before I dive into that, I always like to kind of talk about what is cyber resilience, and bring up the conversation of, how resilient is your business. We think back to 2-3 years ago, and I think the conversation that a lot of us were having were just around cybersecurity, that, where now the conversation's really shifted to how resilient is your business, right? How well can you operate through, prepare, recover, if a cyber attack does hit your business, right? Because we live in a time where it's not a matter of if it'll happen, it's really a matter of when it'll happen. And I know Anthony can speak to that. We're seeing just more and more of these threats constantly popping up. And I always make the joke, like I said, I live in Phoenix, and if you guys have been to Phoenix, people drive like maniacs, right? So every time I get in the car, it's like, hey, today could be the day that you get in an accident. And the same with ransomware. It's these small to medium-sized businesses that these bad guys are really going after, unfortunately. So we kind of like to just explain this a little bit, because here at Datto, we follow this NIST cybersecurity framework. So it's the idea of identifying, protecting, detecting, responding, and recovering. So the thing about this, it's not just a one-stop. This is a continuous thing that's constantly happening. You never stop doing all of these. DRP is constantly following this. They're constantly identifying, protecting, detecting, responding, recovering, is a continuous process. But today we're really going to focus in on that recover aspect, really respond and recover aspect of the NIST framework. Because at the end of the day, like we were talking about, we are all under attack, not even just ourselves, but our businesses, especially if you fall under healthcare, government, education, professional services, right? Majority of you, I should actually ask in the chat, how many of you guys fall under one of these niches? I always like to ask this in person, because everyone's hands go up that we fall mostly under this. And the thing about being in these niches is you're being targeted. Why are you being targeted? We're being targeted because we have useful data. You have that sensitive information that these hackers, these bad guys are wanting. They want our social security numbers. They want our credit card numbers. They want information, right? That's the information that they're they're going after. And unfortunately, this is the information a lot of you as business owners definitely have, especially if you're a doctor, a dentist, whatever it may be. You have that sensitive information that they see as something that they want, right? But how often is a business hit with ransomware? I don't know about you guys, but I think it's really easy to sit and think, oh, this can never happen to me. Like, why would this happen to me? Why would this happen to my business? But it does happen all the time. I even think with my credit card, like, who wants my credit card information? No, you probably don't. But you know, we always try to think, oh, it can never happen to us. But when we look at the statistics, it's really crazy just how often this is happening. 46% of all cyber attacks are aimed at small to medium-sized businesses. SMBs make up about 99% of our market in the US, right? So you're looking at, that is a large number that's being targeted. 85% of all email attachments are harmful. 91% are launched from phishing attacks. You know, I always like to ask this too, and you can think to yourself, but how many of you guys have had an email attachment that has come through lately that's been, you know, pretty funky? Or lately I've been getting text messages from people that I have no idea, it's not them, but they're saying, hey, it's me. Or even just links via text, right? They're getting really good at mimicking things that we trust. Or here at Datto, they run a lot of internal phishing attacks, and it is crazy just how good they have gotten at again, mimicking things that we are looking at on a daily basis, whether it's, you know, our DocuSigns or Bamboo HR, ADP. There's all these things now that they've gotten really good at replicating, right? Cybercrime will cost $8 trillion in 2023. It's only growing, unfortunately. And then this is always a really scary one, but a business is hit with ransomware every 11 seconds. So this is happening around us all the time. So I love kind of sharing a few examples, right? What's happening near us. So this happened a few years ago, but Lincoln College was a college that had been around for about 157 years. So quite some time. They were hit with a ransomware attack, and basically that took the whole school out. They couldn't have classes, it shut down all their computers, they couldn't get people registered. And when you can't do that, you really don't have a functioning college. And so they spent about $100,000 hoping to get that college back up and running. And it ultimately failed just due to they couldn't get back, right? So ransomware it's not always the actual ransomware attack, it's everything before and after that really affects a business. And if you read on, as we kept writing on about this example, it would have cost them about $53 million to get back to where they were with everything that they lost before the attack and after the attack. So, right, that's where the business is really hurt. And, you know, ask yourself, can my business survive if I'm down for 2 weeks? Can my business survive if I'm down for even a week or 5 days? So that's the importance of business continuity, and we're going to dive more into that. Right? So what can we do about it, right? This is where DRP comes in, and that's where cyber resilience today starts with business continuity, like I just mentioned. And business continuity is the ability to keep running through a disaster or a data loss. And we're not so much focused anymore on you know, fires happen and tornadoes happen where you live, or hurricanes, but it's really that data loss. It's that ransomware, or it's people, right? People are a big risk as well in our business that creates a lot of data loss. So I love showing this. It kind of just shows you what I'm talking about when I talk about that actual ransom strike happening, and it's the lost data before and after. So RPO is going to be our recovery point objective, and RTO is going to be our recovery time objective. And what you notice is the closer that we can get those together in your business, the better off your business is going to be, right? So if RPO, we can get that all the way, you know, to where the first arrow is, think about how much data you were able to not lose. And if we can get that downtime to, you know, minutes, that's your business running without your employees even knowing anything went down. And that's what our hope is. And that's what DRP is able to help do for your business, right? So how does this work in action? I love just kind of showing this right here. So we're thinking of business continuity in this aspect as physical continuity, right? Physical backup machines, right? So Datto with DRP is able to take your infrastructure you have, those computers, what you have in your offices or at home, and back that up from anywhere to 5 minutes to an hour. So every time it backs it up, basically what it's going to do is it's going to take that information, it's going to replicate it. So it's going to replicate that, it's going to send that not only to that on-prem device that you have, but it's going to replicate it into our devices as well, our cloud. So we have a data center that's in Utah and a data center that's in Pennsylvania. And that way that information is stored not only for you to gain, but if that local on-prem goes down, they're able to virtualize and spin up that information that's backed up onto our cloud and get you back up and running as fast as possible. So what are some, what's the benefits of this? There's a few things, right? It reduces that downtime and it helps that RTO, RPO, like we talked about. We want that to be as close as possible. And it's not only stored locally, but it's stored on the cloud as well. But as time has continued to move forward, right, we're always going to have on-prem platforms. There's always going to be computers and offices. I don't see that going away, but we're moving more and more to this cloud-hosted infrastructure. And I actually had someone at an event the other week say, what is the cloud? And I had to stop and think, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it's just, we think of the cloud, so we think it's somewhere up here, but we're moving more and more into this cloud infrastructure, the SaaS infrastructure. So business continuity doesn't only and can't only protect on-prem, but it has to also include SaaS protection as well. And when we look at SaaS, right, software as a service, it's about 250 billion today. So it's a big market. By 2029, this market will be about 883 billion. That is a explosion in 7 years. That's a huge, huge growth. And about 78% of businesses will almost run entirely on SaaS application. And so how do we back up SaaS and what are we talking about when we say SaaS applications? And specifically what we're looking at is kind of that Google Workspace and Microsoft 365, which if we were in a room right now, I'm sure if I asked almost majority, all of us are using Google or Microsoft in our day in, day out business, right? If we didn't have Excel or Microsoft Word or PowerPoint, a lot of us wouldn't know what to do. We mostly work on these platforms. But where is this information going? Who's storing this information? If you were to lose it, is there a way to get it back? I think I always thought prior to understanding SaaS protection and things that, Microsoft has to be backing up my information. There's no way that this can be gone. But when you start to look into it, that information is gone within about 45, 60 days if we're not backing it up. And we're humans, right? It's super easy to delete emails by accident or delete files or PowerPoints. So what is your backup plan? Does your business have a plan in place, right? And DRP can help you put a plan in place when it comes to your Google, when it comes to your Microsoft, so you know you're being backed up, not only on-prem, but in the cloud as well. And I always think this is interesting. So the shared responsibility model, I fell out of my chair the first time I heard this actually, but it's this idea that Microsoft and G Suite provide for security of the cloud, but you provide security in the cloud, right? So they only protect a very small portion of what we're actually using. So Microsoft has no liability for the deletion of customer data or personal data as described in this section above. So think about your business, think about your Microsoft or G Suite. Are you backing that up? Is that information being protected? Especially if you're like me and you basically live fully on Microsoft 365 to do your job, right? We just want to make sure that we're securing, that we're taking care of our information in every single way. And I love kind of sharing this too. So this shows you what Microsoft is going to cover. And this is what you, the user, has to cover. So Microsoft does some, but the scary thing is we have a lot more to protect. We have human error, we have programmatic errors, malicious insiders, external hackers, right? All the scary stuff is the stuff that we have to be aware of. So, 1 in 3 companies using SaaS lose data. 40% of data is caused by end user deletion, whether that be malicious or by accident. People are our biggest risks. And sometimes we do things without even realizing. We move folders or we move things and we lose them, right? And then 20% of that data loss is caused by malicious acts. And I really think we're only going to see this number start to skyrocket as we move more and more to the cloud, to we more and more SaaS based. But this is where it kind of gets interesting. What else should we be thinking about? What's on the horizon? What have we been seeing in the IT space? What is DRP looking out for? And so there's some really freaky things kind of happening, right? So deep fake technology is one, where they're actually able to take our faces, right, and mimic how we look, how we act, because it's one of those things that the more we can trust a face, a voice, a link, the more we're willing to click, the more willing we're able to give them our information. I always laugh, right? We have little Michelle Tanner here, and I would, they all look like Uncle Joey. It's crazy. This is one of my, Jason's actually on the call, but this is one of my coworkers' little man. But crazy we can do with faces and voices, and I love it. It's my favorite thing. But that's one. So deepfake, recognition is one thing. The second thing is deepfake voice technology that we're seeing more and more of. And again, I even get this today where someone's calling and I think it's someone that I trust, or people call us from different numbers and different phones. And I always give the example of my mom. For some reason, she calls from Lord knows where. She calls from work, she calls from other people's phones. But if my mom calls me and I hear her voice and it's a trusting voice, it's really easy to give her the information or the password that she's wanting, right? If she needs my banking information, my social security number, if I think it's my mom, I know my mom, they're going to do those. And that's where it's got really scary, that they're starting to take deep voice technology and make it believable and trustable. So we see a lot more of this now, right? Is that your boss calling? People are getting calls from their bosses, or these bank robbers imitated voice to get $35 million. I'm always like, oh, those people do not have a job anymore, right? Or scammers using CEO voice, and they had $243,000 to scam bank account. Right? It's super scary, just how good they've gotten at some of this technology. And I know I was just talking to a few other people at the White House just had this, where the Secretary of State had a voice imitation. So this isn't just small people getting hit. This is big people as well that are in powerful positions that are getting phone calls and believing the other person on the end of the line. So the other thing that's really freaky, this is probably the scariest thing, is AI-driven malware. I think we all understand like ChatGPT's out there, there's all these AI things, but the really scary thing about AI is AI, no matter what, will always be smarter than any human being can ever be. They'll always be more effective. They're able to pivot and change and think for themselves. And so we'll see more of this AI-driven malware that really is just able to kind of pivot and change and probably create different types of attacks that we haven't really seen before, right? So how does it think for itself? They use algorithms, they use data, they use facial recognition. And, unfortunately, we live in a time and a space where we have all of this is accessible to them. They can scan our social media accounts and get our pictures. And a lot of us have, videos with our voices, and they're able to take these in this information and really start to make specific attacks. And also they can get your contacts, right? Who's liking, who's interacting, how can I go after these people? So they're able to create more convincing and customized targeted spam more than ever before, right? And so if we know all these things are coming, how do we continue to be cyber resilient? What's cyber resilience beyond, right? The workforce will include more fluid spaces, as we know. Work from home, we'll be adding more devices. So what does that mean? We look at today, well, let's kick it back. If we look to the early 2000s, you think back to how, your IT worked or your house, and you might have had one computer and two TVs. And now we look in our houses, and even in my own little apartment, I probably have, two TVs, my cell phone, 3 computers, a tablet. We're just so much more connected today. In the next 5 years, we'll have about 20+ billion connected devices. And what this does is this gives the bad guys really an opportunity more and more opportunity that they used to never have. So where do we go from here? We have some good news, right? We talk about business continuity. We have a little bad news, but some scary. But the good news is there's a lot of options in DRP. Your local IT provider, they have the solutions for where you go from here, right? So number one, just know that you're a target online and offline. We talked about this over and over again, but you can't ever say it won't happen to me because it always happens to someone. Number two, put those policy and procedures in place. People are our biggest risks, and the more they know how to deal with some of these things and be aware, the better. Have ongoing employee training. 90% of network breaches are caused by end users. Like, again, we keep going back, people are our greatest risk, but DRP can help you. They can help you do the employee training. They can get your employees up to speed. They can run those, fake phishing attacks so they can understand, what's safe and what's not. Password management. This makes me fall out of my chair every time, but the number one password in 2022 was still password. And the second was still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's a lot of us on this call today. If you were on the top 10 of this is your reminder, change your password. And 65% of people still reuse. And I know that we all know that we shouldn't reuse, but it's easy to do, but just don't do it anyways. So it's your reminder to change your passwords. But use that multi-factor identification. I know it's a pain. I get it. We do it too. But it really does help prevent unauthorized access to that data that we're trying to keep safe. Never leave devices unattended, and always be careful on what you click on, right? Because we live in a time today where we're not so worried about fires like we talked about, or floods or tornadoes. We're worried about people. We're worried on what people are clicking. We're worried about those hackers getting into our businesses, right? So a couple things that DRP can help you with is get that antivirus and malware protection in place, right? Make sure you have all the right steps so that you are setting yourself up for success. We talked about that in this cybersecurity framework. There's a lot of things you can do in order to prevent and protect. Number two, get that security testing done. That's another thing DRP can do for you guys. They're able to sit down and set this in place so you have things set up, as well as establishing an incident response plan, right? 24% of businesses with 1 to 19 employees are not prepared for these threats in their network. You do not want to find yourself in that space. You want to have a plan in place. You want to be able to know, what do I do if the worst possible thing happens, right? And they're able to get you on that plan and get you set up. And last but not least, we talked about continuity. Back up regularly. Make sure that information is being stored so that if something does happen, your business can be up and running within a matter of minutes. Again, our hope, DRP's hope, is always, if you are hit with an attack, if you do lose data or something does go wrong, that we're able to have that information spun up, virtualized, so that you can get up and running, right, as fast and as quickly as possible. Because I love this one, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, and we don't want to get punched in the mouth at all. So, with that being said, I think we're going to leave it open for some questions. If you guys have questions, and DRP can answer questions, I can answer questions. We have a team of people here for those of you that have questions.
I see Frankie has his hand raised. Frank?
Oh, let's see. He might have to put it into the chat. Oh, here we go. Awesome. Anthony, are you seeing these questions at all?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let you answer this one.
Well, basically, it depends on, the backup solution you have. There are other backup solutions. Some are done daily at night. Some, like Datto's, are done every 5 minutes. So it depends on the needs of the client on how often we're backing up.
Right, and that's customizable per person, per business, I should say.
Thank you, Michael.
Let's see if anything else comes through. Anthony, do you have any, like, let's think about this. Is there any questions that you, as a business owner, a that you get a lot that people ask when it comes to, maybe it's even just security in general?
Repeat that a little better, please.
Do you what's like the number one question that people ask you when it comes to backup security? Do you hear kind of the same question over and over again that people are wondering?
A lot of them come and say, I don't know what to do. What do you suggest? That's what sometimes a lot of clients ask us. We're getting more and more traction with Datto. Like every month that goes by, more and more clients are starting to jump into it. They're seeing that it's a difference maker compared to what they had. And one thing when we onboard a client, they say they have backup. And one of the things we always realize is they're never backing up what they think they are. And
That's
we get in there and check it out. Then we make recommendations.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Michael had another question. How do we check that our data has been backed up short of doing a reinstall?
How do we check if our data has been backed up short of doing a reinstall? Well, we get a log of the backups that come right to DRP, so we'll know if everything is backing up properly or not.
Awesome.
Mitch, it's there's a Datto product for everybody. It depends on how many terabytes of data that you're actually backing up. Well, would work with as far as the pricing goes, but there are other solutions that they offer as well. I'll be happy to go over some of that with you.
Looks like Michael has another one.
Can I suggest that your system send a standard email stating your data has been successfully backed up? I'm not sure about that in the back end, Liz. Maybe you would know that from a technical standpoint, or Taylor?
Oh, I would bring in Liz on this one.
Yeah, I could jump in.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Jay.
No worries. Yeah, you do have the ability to receive like verifications that a backup was successful. The only thing is it depends on how many backups you're doing per day, right? So, and that's going to depend on how transactional your environment is. So, for instance, if you're doing a backup every 5 minutes because you're highly transactional, do you really want to see 50 emails come to you to say that it was completed successfully, versus somebody who may do only one backup per day, right? And that may be welcoming to see that one was done and validated. There is some reporting that you can look at it on more of a larger scale to say like, hey, in this week, we've had this many backups, and out of this many backups were successful. So hopefully that answers your question.
Great, thanks, Jason. We got to ask the question, do you have any letters of recommendations from current customers that we can utilize to gain new clients? Of course we can. Yes, definitely.
And I think there's one more. So someone's asking, what are the essential components of a successful business continuity plan, Anthony, that you see?
What is that question?
It's in our chat.
Okay, sorry.
We're putting you on the spot.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to find the question in the chat. So just give me the question again. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. What are the essential components of a successful business continuity plan?
Well, the successful components would, definitely start with the backup, the solution. How fast can we get you back up and getting back to business in the event that something should happen?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where, Datto takes place. If I hate to use the words fire and all those catastrophes that can happen out there, but even if it's just blackout, or something in your building, when your building went down, a transformer got hit, it's down for a day. Maybe we could spin you up at a remote location for the next business day and keep your employees working. The nice thing too is, when you have that device next to your server, if that server goes down, we could spin up the appliance to actually act as a server and kind of keep your business moving, kind of like the little donut on your car. It'll get you to where you got to go. It'll keep the car moving. Same thing like that Datto, the appliance. So all that stuff combined, I think, helps make a good business continuity plan.
It's a good answer.
Can I just jump in? I want to add something to that. So what I would definitely add is that with any business continuity plan, it's not just creating the plan, but it's also communicating the plan out. It's about people understanding the different roles that they have within that plan, right? So from a backup standpoint, from who is the person you reach out to? If you're engaging DRP, is it that go-to person? Like, how does that happen? And once you create that business plan, the worst thing that I see happen is that people take that plan and they just stick it in a drawer somewhere, which is counterproductive because things change all the time within an organization. People get promoted, people leave, and so you don't want to have a situation where you go to look up a business plan of how we need to move and what the next steps are, and everything is outdated. So you need to be consistently testing the plan, consistently revising the plan, because that is how you're going to stay ahead, and that's how it's going to be relevant when you need that plan.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I think we have another Q&A.
Another one in the
yeah.
chat. Go ahead.
I'll ask this for you, Ann, to you. What type of interruption does it do during install?
That's more of a technical question. There probably would be a little bit of downtime, but DRP is very, we can come after hours when your staff is gone for the day and do installations and things like that. So I wouldn't get too caught up with the installation. It's not that long. We'll create a little downtime, but like I said, it can be done after hours as well.
Awesome. Let's see if we have anything else. These are really good questions. Let's see.
There's a chat one. What are some best practices for communicating with stakeholders during a crisis? Well, in addition to, having a nice disaster recovery business continuity plan, as a business with a lot of employees, you should have some sort of policy in place that would dictate what would happen if this happens.
Mhm.
And that's something that DRP can help you with as well.
Awesome. And last but not least, how can businesses measure the effectiveness of their business continuity plans and identify areas for improvement?
Well, I think you would start by doing an assessment. We can have our team come in and do an assessment, look at what's backing up. What are your plans? What are your goals? How much data? And that's pretty much what's leading to, I guess, the some of our prizes that we have here at the end.
Absolutely. That's a good segue. Good segue for sure. So yeah, DRP. Oh, let's see if I can get this. Basically what they're doing is schedule a free cybersecurity assessment today. Like Anthony just talked about, they're able to look at your networks, they're able to look at your plans and really help you understand where they can come in and help you. But you can register there and scan that. That's safe to scan. But I think you guys are giving away, let's see, 3 Yeti these are nice tote bags. So the first 3 webinar attendees to complete the assessment will win this Yeti tote bag.
Yep. Fantastic.
Those are good for summer too. Hey, summer's here. Take it down to the beach with you, right? It's great.
So if you're interested in an assessment and be one of the first 3 to complete it, at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see info@drpsolutions.com. Send us an email. It'll make its way over to me. I will give you a call and we'll set up a meeting. It can be on the phone, the first one, but we can talk about what the steps are of an assessment to see if you want to go through that process.
That's awesome. Well, if anyone has any more questions for Anthony, for myself, for Jason's on the call, Liz, shoot them here. And with that, thank you guys for taking time in your afternoon to join us, learn a little bit about what we do and our partnership and different things like that. Other than that, Anthony, I'll let you close her down. And thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate everybody coming on. Thanks so much. We had a great turnout today. And if any of this interests you or other solutions from DRP, give us a look. We'll certainly do the right thing by you. Thanks very much.
Awesome.